What is up, action takers? Welcome back to the show. Today we're talking with Kathryn Hutchison, the Senior Director over at Threadsy.com. And the theme of the day is merch. How can we use merch to develop more sources of income for our business? What are some companies that are using this, some small businesses that are using merch to grow their business? There's about a dozen different ideas in here to get your mind flowing, to get those gears pumping. So sit back, relax, and be inspired. You know, I'm not saying that apparel is going to be a way for you to quit your day job and go all in on what you love, but it might open up new opportunities. It might generate an additional income source, which is so important. You can't just rely on one. We need to have a dozen different income sources. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're talking all about merch. So sit back, relax, smash subscribe if you haven't yet, and let's chat with Kathryn Hutchison. DJ, run the tape. Hello, Kathryn. What is up?
Hey, Mark. Thanks for having me on today.
Kathryn, it's my pleasure. You know, even just leading up in like the pre-interview discussion, you've got some really interesting stuff to tell about Threadsy, and I'm very interested in knowing how it can help me grow my business. So thanks for being here today.
Yeah, you bet.
Yeah. So can we just start at the beginning, Kathryn? What is Threadsy? What brought this business about? What is it?
Yeah, so Threadsy was founded in Austin, Texas, that's where I am, in 2021 to help people who need access to wholesale quantities of blank clothing or accessories, but for whom the traditional apparel distribution model just doesn't work very well. So we help startups, entrepreneurs, t-shirt decorators, hobbyists, Etsy shop owners get access to like the best quality in blank apparel for their business needs without the hassle that's associated with like traditional wholesale distribution.
That's super important, I think, because as small business owners, I don't have the ability to place a, custom order or a wholesale order for 5,000 pieces of threads, if you will say. But it's also interesting too, because, a little bit that you all might not know about me. When I first started my side hustling gig, I was selling t-shirts online. Go figure, right? These custom print on demand t-shirts, and like, the margins on them were so small. Like I would buy like the guest on my e-commerce store would buy it for, click the button, they pay $25 and I would make like $3 a shirt. That was not a sustainable business model. So I'm kind of curious as to how Threadsy can help small business owners create some sort of margin with our clothing.
Yeah, so we have a couple different customer groups, and the most common kind of use case are people who maybe want to buy blank t-shirts that they're going to have a friend decorate, or they have a decorator that's going to help them that they're going to then resell to their customers at retail rates. And like you experienced, if you're buying shirts to resell or hats or really any variety of blank apparel, if you're paying retail prices and then paying someone to decorate it, and then you're trying to sell at retail prices, the math just does not add up. And so Threadsy helps solve that problem by offering wholesale prices. So you might pay, 10 cents on the dollar for what the retail price of that clothing is for blank clothes, but there's no minimum to purchase. You can shop a catalog of over 70,000 SKUs. So like if you have a very specific color in mind or a very specific niche that you serve that needs a certain type of t-shirt or clothing for your business to be successful, Threadsy can provide that to you at wholesale prices with no order minimum. And we also offer like free shipping for people who spend $50 or more. So it's a pretty low threshold for people who may be just getting started or want to purchase in smaller quantities. They don't, want to buy $10,000 of shirts at one time. We're here to help. We can help businesses kind of get into the space and increase their profits by accessing wholesale pricing for the things that they want to resell.
Love it. Love it. So let's talk a little bit more. Actually, before I move on to some practical use cases, which I'm very excited about, tell me a little bit more about the founding, right? Because this is a fairly young company. It was started in 2021 when the pandemic hit. So give me a little bit of more information on how it got started and where it's, what the purpose is of this. Because there's lots of places I can buy clothes. Where did this come from?
Yeah, so Threadsy really was born of the idea that during the pandemic, there were more small businesses than ever before, more people entering the side hustle economy like your audience than ever before. And it's a really great place to be, but getting started is hard. And so Threadsy was founded just over a year ago to help meet the needs of small businesses in our space. And one of the things that drew me to the company, I joined in January and we actually launched the brand in April, was the expertise of our parent company. We're owned by one of the largest distributors of blank apparel in the United States. That company's name is Alphabroder. So we have all this great supply chain expertise. We get awesome pricing by working directly with the best brands in the wholesale apparel space through our parent company. But unlike big distributors like Alphabroder, where you might need a tax certificate or be a reseller, you might need a certain account or have a credit line. With Threadsy, you can access all of these great prices, or great products rather, at wholesale prices just by shopping online. And so we created Threadsy, really tailored the customer experience to serve the needs of entrepreneurs, side hustlers. Craftpreneurs is one of our audience types, people who've monetized their hobby, like so many during the pandemic. They need access to supplies at not retail prices so that they can turn a profit in their small business. And that's what Threadsy's here to do.
Well, that definitely, and my wife is a craftpreneur as well. She's got her Cricut machine, so she has a lot of, she's a cricketer. I can always tell when she's been cricketing too, because when I come up into my home office, it's been disheveled. It's been moved around a little bit. So I might have to, get her on the Threadsy tip here. But I do want to talk a little bit about these use cases, right? Because listen, I'm a business owner. I'm trying to grow my business. And one of the things I talk to a lot of, my students or clients about is it's not just about having one income source. It's about having a dozen different income sources. So I'm wondering if you might be able to share, Kathryn, some stories or some use cases where Threadsy clients have used these threads, these clothings, these pieces of apparel to actually grow their business. What's some practical stuff that I can take away and utilize in my business?
Yeah, so I will say, t-shirts are really popular for a reason. It's one of the most, it can be very profitable. It's an easy industry to get into. And so something to consider if you've already invested, you've built a brand, maybe you have a side hustle where you're selling services or you're providing expertise, you have an audience that probably has a lot of passion for your brand. And you can use things like custom printed t-shirts, hand decorated apparel to build your brand to make money. We have a really common customer type for us. We have a lot of actually like tattoo shops, a lot of restaurants, a lot of food trailers, a lot of people who maybe are barbers cutting hair out of their home. And it's a side hustle for them. They've built a business around this passion and they're able to diversify their monetization by adding merchandise. And so when their customers are there in the shop, when their customers are connecting with them on social, in addition to the kind of primary service of their side hustle, they can also offer t-shirts with their logo, really helping to reinforce and build up the culture of their business, along with a very lucrative monetization stream with merch. And so a couple things to keep in mind there. If you're new, or if you have a side hustle and you haven't thought about merchandise as a way to diversify, we have some great tips on getting started at our blog, threadsy.com/blog. We've got a couple of articles actually just about this, but some of the highlights from that to keep in mind are, one, you don't have to start huge. You can start by ordering maybe 15 or 20 shirts and either decorating them yourself with a machine like a Cricut, having a friend do it. There are a lot of local decorators who will work with people who bring in their own product. And so that's something you don't have to start with a run of 10,000 shirts like you might have had to before. Like, you can start really small. And then the second thing to consider is that, it can, if you make that initial investment in merchandise, if you already have a website, adding an e-commerce area of that website to sell your merchandise can be a terrific, nearly passive income stream. So you already have traffic online. You already have invested in building your brand. Merchandise can be a way, first of all, to continue the growth of that brand, but second, to make an easy buck. It's many people, when they're starting small, will fulfill the orders themselves. It's also one of the easiest things to train someone to do if you're growing your business and kind of as the business is expanding. But that's some of the kind of use cases that we see for people who might not have thought of themselves as a distributor or business person. It's an easy way to get in and grow your business even more.
So I'm curious, you said the word passive income and my ears perked up. It strikes me though, that would be, I'm trying to figure out how, Threadsy could be incorporated into that, because it's not like print on demand, which again, I feel like print on demand has fallen out of favor because it's so expensive, when your margins are $3, listen, you're not quitting your day job with a $3 t-shirt, but how can I automate that process?
Right. So for a lot of people, websites like Wix, Shopify, very, very accessible e-commerce platforms allow you to maybe do a one-time run of 50 shirts or 100 shirts, or even if you don't want to deal with sizes, here's a hot tip: go with bags, go with hats, go with bandanas. Those are all things that we sell at Threadsy that are way easier. They're widely applicable. Doing a one-time run, maybe you're going to do your merch run in October to last you through the holidays and into the new year. You can then do that as a couple of hour project, have that inventory of merchandise with a very minimal capital investment, and then sell that. You can also use it as incentives, giveaways to grow your channels. It's a very inexpensive way that is a tactical, tangible item of value for people who maybe are interested in your brand and can help you grow that brand. It's not passive, but it's a heck of a lot easier than, some other diversification schemes. I will say too, if you're creative, if you're offering things like digital downloads, if you're offering those things on your site, you may be able to charge a premium for someone who loves your aesthetic, who loves the way your thing looks and doesn't want to do it themselves. People are often willing to pay much, much more. And so it's just something to consider as you want to expand, and maybe a way to grow your business is by expanding into this type of business offering.
Yeah, I'm 110% on board with that. I'll often, again, talk with clients, coaching clients, group members, and they're like, well, what's the best way for me to make money? I'm like, you got to try a dozen different options. You don't know. You don't know until you go. One of the things that it kind of piqued my interest too, Kathryn, was, leveraging social media to sell these types of products and these offerings. Do you have any examples of clients or consumers of Threadsy that have gone viral? I noticed that there's a viral post or some viral episodes that went on TikTok. Give me a little bit of context. How are people executing on that?
Yeah, so I don't want to name any clients specifically by name, just out of respect for their privacy, but I've got a couple of examples that come to mind recently. So we had a couple of pretty large, for us, t-shirt orders come through. And anytime, if you own a business, if you get a big order, you want to go look and say, oh, do I know, is this a returning customer? Do I know them? And so I always do that for our business because it's one of my favorite things. And so, oh my gosh, this person ordered a really large amount of t-shirts, and they'd ordered twice in 2 weeks. And they really caught my eye. And so I Googled, and I found that it was a woman in California who was making Johnny Depp meme t-shirts and selling them through Instagram, and really capitalizing on, the popularity of a current event and of, people's takes on this. But she had really taken advantage of a wave and got on it. And she set up a little Shopify website and was riding the crest of that hashtag, and sold several $1,000s worth of product in a couple of weeks. And it was just a great use case, because this was somewhere she could get the shirts in just 2 or 3 days. She was able to turn them around really quick and sell them. And, who'd have thought, it's a really unconventional story, but, it was something for us that was really gratifying to see her be able to succeed, because she could get the material she needed really quickly. Another example, and this is one, it's a good side hustle example. We actually got, when we passed $1 million in our of sales for, when Threadsy was founded, that was a huge milestone for me as leading the business. And the business that put us over the top was a grilled cheese food truck. And so this is, again, just like I was saying, they had a great brand, invested a ton in a beautiful aesthetic, a really creative business name, and they decided to add t-shirts. In addition to the menu of food items that they were selling from their truck, they decided to work with a print shop in their city. Threadsy supplied the shirts. They had them printed with their name and logo. They also ordered aprons from us, which they customized for their crew to really kind of make the branded experience at their shop more premium. But I always it's going to be really special to me, because that was our order that put us at $1 million when we were first getting started. And to know that we helped, that business become probably more profitable and really expand the types of products they could sell. The shelf life of a t-shirt is a heck of a lot longer than a grilled cheese sandwich. And so this was a way that during kind of a slower time, they can offer an expanded set of services and offerings to their customers.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the shelf life of a grilled cheese sandwich in my world is not long. I will crush some grilled cheese. I really love these I just love practical examples and practical stories, Kathryn. That's like what gets my blood pumping. I get excited because, the gears start turning in the back of my head. Something that we had briefly discussed in our pre-interview discussion was industry trends, right?
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, to me, a common thread in the Threadsy storyline, no pun intended, is that it was created as a way to keep up with the trend. COVID, people are not shopping in person anymore. Everyone's buying online. Like, what are the trends that you're seeing now when it comes to apparel and merch? Are people back in stores right now? Is online still the way to go? Like, what are some trends that you're seeing as of June 2022?
Yeah, so a couple of things that we're seeing now, they're actually quite different than when we got started, pretty deep in lockdown. Like every industry, we're seeing the return of in-person shopping and events. And so, what this means for larger stores and retailers is that there's foot traffic coming back into their store or their physical location. But we're seeing then commensurate orders for apparel. So for events, celebrations, meetings, again, if you've got foot traffic coming back to your store, they're excited, they want a souvenir, they really want to remember coming back, reconnecting with your brand. If you're the type of business that has a physical location, we've seen people adding merch as a way to kind of mark and celebrate that. So events, hard to overstate, things were very, very locked down when we were first starting Threadsy as a business, but now we're seeing orders for 5Ks. Pride has been a huge month for us, which is fantastic, seeing people being able to return, celebrate, and really build that sense of community. Merchandise can be a huge part of that. And so I would just say, if you're running a virtual side hustle and maybe you started your business online a couple of years ago, like so many Americans did, you're probably leaving money on the table if you haven't looked around the industry to evaluate, how is my space, how is my niche kind of coming back in person. It's just a great time to have to involve merchandise, but thinking about, if you've had a Shopify store or maybe you've been selling on Instagram for the past couple of years, there are probably craft fairs, bazaars, especially getting into the holidays, pop-ups. Those types of in-person events represent a real opportunity to expand and grow your business, because not only, are they available for the first time in a few years, but people are very excited to engage face-to-face. And the other thing I would add to that, if you're considering expanding, so if you've been an online business and you're going face-to-face, don't forget to do some market research. You did that at the very beginning of your business. You should really take a look at pricing. The competitive dynamics of an in-person type business can be very different from online. And so if you don't, for example, worry about your pricing, people may be willing to pay a premium for a premium in-person experience. Don't make the mistake of, offering your products necessarily for exactly the same price in every distribution channel, or your services for the same price online as in person. Really, your business will benefit from doing a quick refresh on your analysis, look at the competitive landscape, and don't be afraid to price differently for different scenarios, because consumers think very differently. They're motivated differently in person versus online. And so that would be just a piece of advice that we're seeing in our industry for sure.
That's actually a really good point. Again, I like this conversation, Kathryn. I had no idea where we were going to go. We hopped on, but there's gears turning in the back of my head. I don't know if everyone can see or watch or hear that happening. But so I have a question about the quality of the shirts that, let's say shirts or clothing that we order, because there's different levels of quality, right? Obviously, if you go with a lower quality of good, right, a more basic, we'll call it a basic, I don't want to call it low quality, we'll call it a basic shirt, basic t-shirt, you're going to have a higher profit margin, but it might not feel as good on the body. Like, what are the what should I be considering when I'm deciding on the apparel to order? Should I just go with the most basic, most cost effective, maybe to start? Should I maybe try some different styles of shirt? What should I be considering when I'm trying to decide which version? Because when I go to the Threadsy website, there's a lot of options. There's a lot of options.
We have over 70,000 products in our catalog. And so especially if you're new to the space, it can be a little bit overwhelming to understand. So some advice I like to give to people who are maybe getting started is, if this is a product you're selling to represent your brand, that's probably the best place to start. If you have a really premium brand, if you're charging top dollar for consulting or event planning services, you really want to think about the type of product then you want to sell to represent your brand. You can get a great value on a more premium product. So that might mean you opt for a little bit more stylish cut, maybe a more retail oriented brand like Bella and Canvas or Next Level Apparel. There are several, US Blanks. There are some pieces you don't have to break the bank on the piece, but really consider if this is a shirt you want to be charging a premium price for that needs to fit within the larger kind of ethos and aesthetic for your brand, it's probably worth a couple of extra dollars on the materials so that your customers continue to associate your brand with like the most premium experience.
Well, I know just from in my experience that, I've tried on different types of, these t-shirts before. Those Bella and Canvas, they feel nice. I don't know. They feel nice on my body. So yeah.
Well, they do. And this is actually, so I will say the other thing is not everyone has a premium brand. And I think that's okay. We see that our customers are not necessarily focused on the cheapest possible shirt, but maybe the best of value. And so if you're not a premium brand, or maybe you want to do a one-off project for a bachelorette party to make an extra buck, you've got a friend and you can who's doing a bachelorette party, and you just want to print 12 or 15 t-shirts that will look great that weekend and then will probably sit in the closet as a memento. They're not your daily driver. It's okay. And it's probably more important to your customer to have a lower per piece price. And so what we see is making that an evaluation. There are some really great, by the way, Bella and Canvas, Next Level, really premium type. Hanes has some really nice premium feeling t-shirts that are not the most expensive items in our catalog. And so a couple of things to look for there. So being cognizant, what product is going to be the best representation of your brand, or maybe meet the need of a very value conscious or one-time type use case. Knowing it's not just about the brand name, but what the shirt is made of. We have I hate to pimp our blog again, but we have a great blog post at threadsy.com that walks you through, it's a fabric guide. So it walks you through, if you want like the softest t-shirt, you want probably a cotton polyester blend. If you are going to be outfitting folks who are going to be sweating a ton for like maybe a day at the beach or a marathon, you're going to want to go with like a lightweight polyester type shirt that's going to wick. It would be a performance type fabric. And then again, if that won't work at all, if you're wanting to do a tie-dye party. So let's say you're an event planner for your side hustle, you help plan weddings, you want to help one of your brides do a tie-dye thing for like a lead up. You need 100% cotton. A blend is not going to work. You're going to want a cotton shirt or maybe even a tank top. And so I would say that's by understanding and doing a little bit of research. You don't need to go spend hours and hours looking through a product catalog. Doing just a little bit of basic research on materials will help you kind of start in the right direction and not get ripped off. I would say that's the other thing. You can pay full retail price for a 100% cotton shirt for your tie-dye party at a big box store maybe, or an online superstore, and you're probably paying like 10 times more than you should. You are leaving a lot of margin on the table if you're paying retail. Even if you just need 10 or 12 shirts, that can add up, that you could be overpaying by $50. So that's my t-shirt soapbox, but I always hate to see small businesses especially overpay and leave profit on the table for something that may not be their area of expertise.
No, I really appreciate that. And I'll definitely have a link to the blog, the blog post here below, because, margins matter, especially when you're trying to leave the day job to really focus on your passion. Like those dollars matter, and I mentioned earlier about testing different types of income streams. You have to look at the profit margin. If you don't have a profit margin on an income stream, you might need to focus on something else or assess that income stream and how we can tweak it and fix it. We were talking about trends a little bit here, Kathryn, and I want to talk about QR codes. Should I be putting QR codes on my t-shirts, or is that a no-go?
I think it depends on your industry. So this is one where if you're at a restaurant, if you're using a QR code for all your menus, if you want to put a QR code on the tag of your shirt so people can come find you, if you are in a place that is like loud and proud geek culture and a QR code is going to be a great fit for that aesthetic, go for it. If you want to use a t-shirt as a way to drive traffic in an unconventional giveaway, maybe, I could see a time and place for it. Is it my personal aesthetic? Not as much, but that really doesn't, my aesthetic, or you need to think about what your customer is going to enjoy, what's going to provide the best experience for your customer. And man, if that's a QR code for your business, more power to you. Go for it. There's, I can think of a lot of really fun and creative ways you could do that. And then maybe some of them veer off, maybe not to the best taste, but I think that could be an interesting thing.
QR codes to me again, we talk about trends, have really caught my eye specifically because of the Coinbase commercial during the Super Bowl in 2022 this year.
Yep.
it became like a household name. And for anyone that it isn't aware, basically there was no text. It was just a QR code bouncing across the television like a screensaver. And they got so many clicks, so many people scanned the QR codes, they actually crashed the Coinbase website, which to me is shocking. And now again, I've gone to a few conferences this year. I actually gave away some swag. I didn't know about Threadsy at the time, unfortunately. I gave away some swag and everybody was into QR codes. I did not meet one person who didn't know what a QR code was.
Yeah,
So
I think that's one of the things it's so cool about the versatility of swag. So like, yeah, if you're giving away that shirt and you want that to be, or maybe it's a hat or any kind of freebie, and you want that to work hard for you, a QR code can be a great way, in some cases more effective than a URL, can be a very creative way to make that swag work very hard for you. On the other end of the spectrum, if you're wanting the swag that you are selling, maybe you're using it as a major upsell opportunity for your business. People who are buying a shirt for $50 may not want to market your business for you. They want to be maybe part of, they like the aesthetic. I think it's just really important to consider the customer experience and then tailor kind of your strategy for your business and what your customer needs.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. And again, to me, a lot of trial and error, but I definitely agree with you there. So I don't, again, staying on this idea of trends, Kathryn.
Yeah.
Are you seeing anybody attaching merch to NFTs? I don't want to go too far down the NFT rabbit hole, but I'm very interested in NFTs, and a lot of NFTs that are out there are trying to give away some sort of tangible benefit. Have you seen that at all? Any case examples?
We haven't in our space. Maybe some of our customers are, and I just don't know because the name of their business isn't, NFT to you startup. I see more restaurants. I see, and also, a lot of the small businesses that are using the apparel space right now are people who are like home hobbyists, maybe not at the cutting edge of the fintech space. I think it would be really cool though. And we would love to help anyone who is in the NFT space and wants to have something really tangible. We've got a ton of products. And I think that could be like a really fun and cool way to differentiate in what's a pretty crowded and opaque space for people who are wanting to stand out and get started there.
Yeah, I think it's very important that you're standing out. There's too many, like, it seems like every NFT project I fall across is like, we're a community. Yeah, but what does that mean? I could join a Facebook group and I'm part of a community and, but having something that's tangible that you can wear is, I think, a strong differentiator.
And it goes back to, people I think are so excited to meet face to face. They're excited to go to a place. They're excited to have something they can hold in their hands because for 2 years we were inside, it wasn't safe or you couldn't have these things. And so I think there's a real sense of nostalgia of the permanence of being able to hold that, I think does really help community feel more real. And I think community is a major buzzword. Every business wants to cultivate a community, but when you think about, well, how am I doing that? The cost of merchandise can be much, much lower than other methods and can help, if you are doing other methods like in-person events, things like that, give people something to take away. And remember, it really increases the perceived value of that service and of your brand. And I think it just helps kind of people put the money where their mouth is when they're talking about community. Well, make that a real thing, that it's visible.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So we're talking to Kathryn Hutchison here from Threadsy.com. She's just broken down at least a dozen different ways that you can use apparel to help grow your business, to drive new sources of revenue. That's Threadsy.com. There's a link below. You can check it out. Also to the blog articles. Kathryn, before I let you go, we got to do some rapid fire.
Okay.
All right. So don't be scared. Buckle your seatbelt. We're going to get through this together. But Kathryn, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, good. I don't know why I hype it up so much. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that serious. Kathryn, what's the scariest movie you've ever seen?
I think a lot of movies are scary. Friday the 13th, that whole series really freaks me out. I saw it for the first time when I was a kid and it never has left me, but I love watching them.
Yeah, you got it. You love to hate it, right? If you could live anywhere in the world, where would you want to live?
Honestly, this is so cliche. Right here in Austin, Texas, where I am. I love the city. I've been here for almost 20 years. And there's like new and exciting stuff happening here all the time. It's such a great place to live.
That is the right answer, by the way. I would live right where I'm at. And I'm curious, because Austin is blown up over the last few years. What's the coolest thing that's happening in Austin now?
It's been really fun to see the city kind of come back to life. We closed down at South by Southwest. A couple of years ago, I was working downtown, planning to go to South by like I do every year. And it's such a big part of the culture. And then it stopped. And so it's been so fun seeing the city come back. People are reimagining ways to do things that are traditions in the city. There's also some really cool event centers that have opened up. We have a soccer team now with the Q2 Stadium. Moody is a new concert venue that opened up. And so it's just so fun. Live music and sports and gathering has always been part of Austin's culture. And seeing people come in and do that in new ways as the city grows it's one of my favorite things.
Super cool. Super cool. If you were on death row, Kathryn, I'm not saying you have to admit that you did it, but if you're on death row, what are you going to order for your final meal?
Oh, there's a restaurant here in Austin called Olame, and I would just tell the chef, make what you want. It's one of my favorite restaurants. They have the best biscuits, and so like the biscuits would be a sure thing. Everything else can be a wild card. Just bring me Olame in my cell. I'll die happy.
Biscuits are underrated. What do you put on your biscuits?
I am an equal opportunity biscuit enjoyer. So give me butter, give me jam, give me sausage, give me gravy. There's another. So my friend Stephanie, she has a jam shop in South Austin and she makes biscuits too. And she makes the most creative jams. And so I think I'm put anything on a biscuit, but I can't resist, an unusual variety of jam.
Yeah, same here. I was in Tennessee a few years ago and I've never been a big biscuit guy, but we went to this place, the Loveless Cafe, and the jam there blew my mind. I'm a jam and biscuits type of guy forever.
You probably would have bought a t-shirt to remember that jam.
I definitely would. Loveless. Y'all are slipping. Unless you have t-shirts, you might. I don't know. But you should if you don't. Final question here, Kathryn. If you had 10 seconds with yourself 10 years ago, what would you say?
Oh, you're doing great. Just keep going. That would be the main thing. I think in my 20s, I overthought everything. I think that's probably really common for women and young women, especially in their time. Just keep going. And don't stop. And, luckily I didn't, but just give yourself a break.
I love that. I love that. And I would say just keep experimenting, trying new things. Kathryn, thanks so much for joining us here, representing Threadsy and giving myself and all the entrepreneurs some ideas on how we can make some more cash. Thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. We're rooting for you, small businesses. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Boom. And that is a wrap. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Kathryn. Like I said, I got my mind pumping. I got a bunch of notes here that I'm going to be looking at potentially implementing in my business. And I hope you do too. And by the way, if you've ever thought about podcasting, you don't have a podcast, we need to talk. That's what I do. I help you take your podcast and develop a profitable business model around it. So you can click the link below, hit me up, mark@marksavantmedia.com. That's mark@marksavantmedia.com. Shoot me an email. Let me know how I can help you. Or maybe we just hop on a call and chat. Talk about Threadsy. All right. In the meantime, go out, take action, and I'll catch you here next time on the After Hours Entrepreneur. Peace.